Call the meeting to order. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Or actually, I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Norman?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Dean?
Here.
Edmund?
All right, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted over there on the bulletin board. It's also available in pamphlet form at the website listed there. Approval of minutes for the August 6th budget workshop and August 20th emergency meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Grant?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes. Reports water plant.
Yep. So the water plant was on the agenda for the last meeting to identify some issues we found at the plant, not regarding the emergency and the breakdown that we had. We had a failure of filter 2. Pretty large pipe work involved with that, so we're going to need to bring in a contractor. We've since brought in that contractor, and he's given us some workarounds to where we don't need to utilize them. So the cost impact of the repair that needs to be done to the filter is a lot smaller. But then we had our failure of the plant and our maintenance pumps. First thing I'd like to say is the plant today, as of 9 o'clock, is fully operational and delivering water. So that's a big plus. We're still waiting on a couple motors to go on the pumps because they shipped us the wrong electrical requirements on the motors. And after many miles on the road, we have the proper motor in and the plant's running. What happened in the plant is we lost the maintenance pump that services all the inner workings of the plant. It drives the injection system for the treatment and other functions in the plant. Once that went down, we were unable to treat any water. So we started looking at workarounds, working with the state. We're able to create a bypass of the well water tanks and the aerator and get water to the plant. The state brought us a temporary injection pump, which we installed after the filters, post-filter, for injection, and that's what we ran on for the last 2 weeks. Dennis, we were bypassing the raw water tank. Dennis proposed putting the water tank back online. Ran that through the state. They authorized that, and that enabled us to deliver more water and get the outdoor watering restrictions lifted and be able to ease that pressure up a little bit. We're still waiting on the final motors. The plant's running on the one pump right now, which it has for the last 3 years, and the pump that it ran on was failing as it was. So we're in a lot better shape than we were, and waiting on motors to justify this situation. But many other issues in the plant, and we'll get into that as the night goes on. Any questions?
Thank you, Dan, for you and your crew and everything you guys have done throughout this entire emergency. You guys did a wonderful job. So
Yep, it was a team effort, everybody. Yep.
Golf. And there was no meetings since our last meeting, so we'll move on to park.
Most of everything that's on the park board agenda is all inside the agenda later on tonight here, so we'll discuss it then.
Cool. Swan?
as I say, I suppose I attended that meeting. There wasn't a lot that we went over. I guess the main portion of the meeting was that Coming Forward is in a position where they're losing their small community service. And so they're looking at joining Swan, just like we joined Swan not too long ago. They're not sitting as well as we were. We had a contract to fall back on for our dumpsters, and they don't. So that's their major hurdle at this time. They'll be working with attorneys to see what they can make happen there. But other than that, they're really looking forward to it and hoping everything works out so that they can have a really smooth transition in joining Swan, because that's overall their main focus. Other than that, everything, very smooth meeting, and their financials were very clear. I was very impressed. That was the first time I've attended that meeting, and it was a pleasure to do that. That was a very well-run meeting.
All right, library.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. July was a great month for the library. We had 520 patrons and visitors come through. We had 42 computer uses of our computer lab. We circulated 331 physical materials from the library, and we circulated 185 digital materials. The amnesty months for fees and fines continued through July, so there was no fines collected for that time. And then a total of 36 new library books were added to the catalog, and 0 were removed from the catalog at this time. Regarding programs, events, and activities that have taken place at the library, since the July 23rd meeting, 12 events have taken place with a total attendance of 205 people. And that included a really awesome showing at the Back to School Bash, where the library had a booth and got to interact with 81 different folks, kids and families. Upcoming events, this Saturday, August 31st at 11, there will be a special storytime portion of the Cabot and Caboose Day that I was invited to do a storytime for. So I'll be doing that and hope to see everybody there. And then Monday, September 2nd, the library will be closed for Labor Day. Tuesday the 3rd at 10 a.m. is our next Friends of the Library meeting, so that's after a long summer break. Thursday, September 5th begins the first of our next event series of Tech Talks, where we'll be discussing navigating the Libby app. So that's that digital extension of our physical catalog. And then our reading group meets on Friday, September 6th, and our Board of Trustees meets Monday, September 9th at 4:30. And that'll be here at the library. And then our next council meeting, to my knowledge, will be Tuesday, September 10th, right here. Just to recap on some of the ongoing projects that the library has been working on, to conclude the summer reading program, there was a end of program party on August 9th, where we celebrated a final total of 26 program participants, which is more than double last year's. And we had 29 events and activities with a total of 208 in attendance across those activities, and over 493 books were read. Those were all the ones that were recorded. There, of course, are always some that don't make it onto the reading log. So, and just so you know, between ages 0 and 12 read 400 of those books. A big thank you to 2nd Street Bakery, the Perk Up Java Shop, the Friends of the Library, the Post Playhouse, Ann Stevens and Nancy Anderson, the many volunteers and the encouraging families who helped make that program such a success. Elsewhere, the E-rate discount that was to be applied to the library's internet bill is successfully being applied as of July's bill. It took a second for them to get all the paperwork through, but that'll be an ongoing thing for the foreseeable future. So as long as we keep submitting the appropriate paperwork, we essentially get that in perpetuity. And then the accreditation that the library is working on continues. We're currently developing the community needs response plan based on the survey responses that we've assessed. This will be a plan that the library will implement over the next 5 years when the next accreditation cycle begins. And we're trying to identify and address key needs identified in the survey. A presentation about those results will be to come once we have it all submitted to the Nebraska Library Commission. And finally, for fall programming, I mentioned Tech Talks earlier, so that's going to kick us off for that late summer, early fall transition. And the topics will range from discussing navigating the Libby app, or exploring file storage options, physical and on the cloud, accessibility settings on people's devices, so making them easier to use, and then a showing of a documentary film called Secrets in Your Data. So all of those are meant to help the general public, appropriate for all ages. Be sure to bring your devices and your questions to those. Elsewhere, the library will feature a Crawford Authors Series this fall, featuring readings and Q&As with local literary talents, starting in October and going through November. And just as a teaser, there is another round of history talks in development for the winter. So unless anyone has any questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody do anything on the hospital?
I have a comment
Yes, sir.
on the hospital.
Yes, sir.
So Terry reached out to me, he's in charge of facilities and the buildings involved with them over there. As we knew, the rooftop unit over there was failing. He was able to get a grant to pay for 70% of the rooftop unit over there. The unit has been purchased, not delivered or installed. On the 30% that is not covered through the grant, he's going to be reaching out to the city to discuss a charitable donation. So I'd just like to throw that out there. I asked him to supply us with all the details, financials, and go from there, but that's where that is, and a heads up on that.
Thank you.
NRDC?
We have not had any.
Okay. And then we have financial update.
Yes. I didn't bring any paperwork this time because it's such a long meeting. I do have everything that I have done so far, if you guys wanna look at it after the meeting, or if you wanna come to the office. I've completed October 2023 through March, working on April. There's a couple hiccups with them, but there's a ticket into G-Works. It's a simple fix, but we're looking pretty good.
Alrighty. So resolutions, discuss, approve, disapprove resolution for municipal annual certification of program compliance for Nebraska Department of Transportation.
Did Cindy indicate if there's any changes, anything we need to be worried about, or do we know?
Yes,
No concern.
either one of us, no.
Okay.
From what I understand, this is to include our 1 and 6, is that correct, Ed?
Yeah, this would be for your this would be certification so you can receive your highway allocation.
Gotcha.
Cause it's, it asks for our street superintendent's signature, which he's right there, actually, in the green shirt.
Right here.
Yeah.
I'm Brendan Milley, and I guess I'm here for that purpose too. Do I need to sign that?
Yeah, I was gonna have you,
Certification.
look over this after and everything, cause we haven't even done our 1 and 6 year plan yet for this year, or the updates to last year's.
Right, right. So, and that's one of the things that we were gonna discuss tonight, but, the program compliance, that can be done anytime, but I think is it due in September?
October 31st is when it's due.
October,
So we're okay to sign now as long as, or do
Sure.
we wanna wait until we make sure we have everything required on here?
It's up to you. You can do that, ahead of time, or the 1 and 6 is separate from that. That's to make sure that you get your highway allocation.
Alright.
So we can sign that tonight. If it's in there. That's fine.
So does that require just a motion to approve it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for municipal annual certification of program compliance for Nebraska Department of Transportation, please.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Alrighty. Unfinished business, discuss, approve, disapprove community building flooring. So, Do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to discuss, is this what I'm doing? Or are we trying to make a
Yeah, I'll
decision
start the
tonight?
discussion if that's all right. So at the last meeting, Chris brought up concerns of groundwater penetrating through the floor of the building. I've reached out to the tile contractor 3 times. He didn't give me any return calls to be able to discuss that with him. I spent quite a bit of time looking at old records. Earlier this summer, I was able to go back and find railroad records on drainage and everything when they originally built the tracks, because I was looking into our swamp down on First Street, and went back to some of those records and everything. I can't find any evidence of the river ever running all the way over there. If it did, it was long before record keeping started. With the pool facility right next door and the lack of evidence of any groundwater impeding that facility, I'm pretty comfortable that we don't have a major groundwater issue. I don't know how else to look into that without spending a bunch of money. I've spent a bunch of time on it, and I don't think it's going to be a big impact like potentially was suggested by the contractor at the time. Like I said, I was unable to reach out to him. I gave him 3 calls, didn't get any returns. But I did some homework on it, and I feel we should move forward with making a decision on the flooring.
Do we have a recommendation from the park board as far as
It
what
was
you'd like to,
the full epoxy flooring.
and that is option 3 at the 70,660?
It was the middle option, yeah.
The option 3 had additional treatment on the epoxy, some sparkle and some coloring and some things. Option 2 didn't. It's just the epoxy flooring with the moisture barrier
So
under
we're
it.
looking at option 3, replace the VCT with the new solid color 2-coat epoxy urethane floor system, tear out the old tile with concrete floor removal base. Floor prep is needed to fill holes and cracks, install new urethane flooring system, install the new vinyl base. Approximate downtime will be 3 to 4 weeks at the total quote option for 3 at $70,660.
How much?
$70,660.
Thank you.
And our insurance on that?
47,000 and some change.
And with the possibility of another 7, right?
Was it 7 or
Once
3?
the work is done.
Yeah, once the work is done, yes.
We're still looking at roughly $16,000.
Okay.
With the season changing and everything, temperatures dropping, I would probably recommend we move on it now. Because once that building starts getting cold and trying to heat it and trying to get this work done then, may run into problems.
Are you confident that we could get this scheduled before wrestling season starts?
What's, we looking
June
at a,
wrestling runs from December through March.
I think
You think that's
so.
realistic?
Yeah.
You've got 2 big weddings in September.
Yeah.
That would give us the month of November, if we got the wheels turning with the contractor.
So we could start right after the weddings and still have time. And that gives you enough scheduled time in the front.
I would say the city should probably hold off on scheduling anything after those weddings until we know exactly what the flooring schedule will be.
Just quick question, why the difference in the 2 tiles, or in the 2 different floors? What
One-
did you guys like about the LVT?
We just thought that the weather resistant and durability, the epoxy flooring was going to be the best choice. The tile, you know, granted, it's going to be a better, newer version of the tile than what's currently in there, but it's still tile. And why take the risk of moisture getting underneath of something again, if we can seal it and put a barrier over it? And long term, I think the epoxy flooring will be a lot more durable.
How often do you have to replace that barrier?
I think what I was told originally is like a 10-year plan, depending on how much wear and tear is on it. And that's on a normal, you know, everyday use 10-year plan. Where that building doesn't get used all the time, Who knows? It could be 15, 20 years.
I will say from the independent bid that I had that's not included here, I was told the exact same thing, and that resurfacing cost could be $7,000. It's very, very minimal considering completely replacing it that often. I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the park board for option 3 for replacement of the community building, to coordinate between the,
Do you want a contingent on Warford's being able to do this before?
right, yeah.
December 1?
Yeah, recommended to do within the period after those weddings and before December.
I'd recommend in that contract, if they don't complete it by a certain day, that they start paying a penalty per day or per week or whatever it may be afterward, if they're willing to agree to it.
You could ask
What?
them, Warford's maybe not do that, but it's not unusual on large contracts to do that. But actually, if
The
they can't-
importance for us to put that building in.
Yeah, I would just ask them if they can't get it done by December 1st, you might be back to looking at it in the spring.
Yeah.
This might be that simple.
You actually do have your community Thanksgiving party that starts that Sunday before Thanksgiving, so maybe the mid of November.
Well, I mean, at some point, we're gonna have to work around things, so.
No, I know, but I mean.
We're not gonna be able to work around absolutely everything.
Right, but I'm just saying they do it in October, is all I'm saying.
Right, or we can help them come up with
Yep.
maybe.
But you have
an
less
option if
stuff
that's
in the
a
spring probably than you have in the fall and winter.
Right.
Might be easier to just replace it in the spring.
You need to talk to Warford.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve option 3 at $70,660, contingent of when Warford's can schedule into what we have for current schedule, please.
Option 3 or 2?
3 at the $76.60 with the,
Okay.
urethane epoxy system on the cement.
That is what your recommendation is.
Second.
Grant,
Yes?
Dean,
Yes.
All right. Discuss, approve, disapprove schedule for a town hall meeting regarding the pool.
I'll make a motion to approve this, to approve scheduling for the town hall meeting.
Do you have a date? Do I have a
No,
second?
I figured we'd do that in the discussion after I brought it to the, right, because aren't we doing it
Yeah,
different?
you want me to do it? Have a second.
She wanted to make a motion to.
Okay.
All right.
So, before we got to this meeting, we were hoping to do it this week, and that's obviously not gonna happen. Can we consider Wednesday, September 11th at 6 PM in the community building?
Sure.
6 PM.
Yes, in the community building. Would like to advertise that also, can we include that? So I'd like to approve scheduling a town hall meeting on Wednesday, September 11th at 6 PM in the community building regarding the pool with advertising.
Who would you like to advertise with?
Yeah, the
Just
local
a quick-
paper, I think that's, we need to do the deal and what not do.
And website.
Exactly.
The only people that are concerned about are the people
Our
that
local
live here in
residents.
town.
And I think as long as we have it on our own website, that helps too. No, I appreciate it.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
All right. New business, discuss, approve, disapprove resignation of city council member Robert Tavmasi.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation of the city council member Robert Tomasian.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
All right. Discuss, approve, disapprove advertisement for replacement of council member Tavmasi.
I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement for the replacement of council member Tomasian, at all our usual places for council member advertisements, please.
Second.
Keeping in mind that the name will need to go up next meeting, next regular meeting.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Grant,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
All right, discuss, approve, disapprove recommendation for new city council member. Recommendation approved, the individual will be sworn in. So the person I'd like to recommend is, Brent Gebby. He applied. I think, business owner, you know, has, being outside of town a little bit, might have some different insight into the town, so that's who my recommendation is.
Make a motion to approve for new recommendation for new council member Brent Gebby, please.
Second.
Brent,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Get sworn in.
Here, your hand is.
I, Brent Gebby, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation for the purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of council member according to the law and to the best of my ability. And I do further swear that I do not advocate nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence. And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence. So help me God.
Thank you and welcome.
All right. Discuss, approve, disapprove appointment of board liaisons. I might hold off until now, or do you guys want to go ahead? Wait until we get to the fourth council member?
I don't think it matters either way, we're gonna have to attend meetings in the meantime, so I don't think it hurts to do it.
Okay.
Chris, what do you think? Do you wanna assign members now to boards, or would you rather wait till we get our fourth?
Well, what do we got coming up that, we need?
Cause we have hospital that's open, we have golf that's open, and don't we have another one that's open?
I mean meetings between now and the next.
There's a park meeting between here and there.
We have two.
And the possible golf.
And Villa is tomorrow night,
Villa's the other department, yeah.
and when's golf?
It was supposed to be last week, but it didn't happen.
I guess I
If you want,
would rather.
people coverage, you could make interim appointments until you have a full board here,
Do we wanna do that for now
if
then?
you want representation.
Cause I don't think we're gonna miss anything.
What else?
Golf, park, hospital, and Villa are all up.
Yeah, we can do interim appointments.
Okay. I'll make a motion to appoint interim board liaisons at this time to golf, park, hospital. Do you want to pick those people? Just-
Golf, who would like to do golf?
Take golf.
Shane makes your point.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
well, I don't. Golf, meetings are usually 5:00 PM on a Tuesday, Wednesday. Does that interfere with anybody? I don't wanna appoint anybody without knowing if it works
I
on their
can make it
schedule.
work.
Okay, so Skip, you wanna take golf? I'll
Yeah.
appoint Skip for golf. Park, you guys usually meet at 5 or 5:30?
It's been the regular time, it's, yeah, what's that? 1600.
1600, sorry, I was on 4:00. Yeah, 4:00 on Wednesdays, right? On Wednesdays. Cool. Alright, I'll appoint Brett to that one. hospital. I forget when the hospital meeting is.
I don't remember either.
Bobby did not.
I think it's first, do you remember?
I think the last Monday of the month.
Last Monday of the month? 5 o'clock, usually. 5 o'clock. Does that work for anybody?
I'm going to kind of divide and conquer. I can do it for now, if it's interim.
Okay.
And I'll do some research and see if I can.
And then
Unless you
we'll,
want me to take Villa and then you can have hospital for now, since we've got.
why don't you take Villa?
Okay, I'll do
You
that.
can have hospital. If that'll work for you.
Okay, Grant's Hospital,
Last
Debbie.
Monday.
We're gonna switch that. Brent will be in the hospital and I'll take it out. When's the Villa's next meeting?
Tomorrow.
What time?
I don't
It's
know.
5:30.
5:30.
But no problem, I'll park it for the moment.
Park one shouldn't be tomorrow, should it?
First week. So
Next
it's
week.
First week of September, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Or,
So to verify, we have Chris with golf, Brent with park, Brent with hospital, and April with Villa as the interim liaisons.
Right.
All others will remain the same.
Oh, okay, we'll move on then. Discuss, approve, disapprove removal of Edward Blacksheep from probation and approval of associated 47-cent raise.
I'll make a motion to approve removal of Edward Blacksheep from probation and approval of associated 0.47% raise.
I'll second.
Grant? Yes, sorry.
Debbie,
Yes.
Skip,
Yes.
Alright. 14, discuss, approve, disapprove 50-cent an hour raise for Edward Blacksheep obtaining a Class 1 operator's license.
I would like to make a note that's a class 4 operator for water, not
Class
class 1.
4.
I appreciate the promotion, but
I'll,
I'm working on it.
I will note it in the correction in the minutes.
And I'll say that this one should be the 47 cents. The licenses are 47 cents instead of 50 cents, I thought.
I was asked to research this today, but, I did not complete my research. 50 cents versus 47
I
cents.
think it was,
I can
I think
report
it was
back next
47
meeting.
cents, cause I
Okay.
just remember it being an odd amount for the licenses. So, if you're okay with it, I'll approve it for 47, but if it's not, we can fix it next time, if that's okay. Well, it'll totally will be. So, I'll make a motion to approve the 47 cents an hour raise for Edward Blacksheep obtaining his class 4 operator's license. Thank you for the correction.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Skip.
Yes.
Alright, yes ma'am.
So is the 50 cents part of the negotiation when you first hired on, or why the 50 cents? I know that 47 cents is a 3% increase because of this
We've
restricted ratio.
gotten in, so we looked into that today, we've gotten in the habit of when somebody comes off probation, they get their initial raise. We've done that for the last
Year and a half.
handful of recent employees we've removed off of probation.
What's that?
But I didn't ask for it, and I was surprised, and I was very happy about it.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So discuss, approve, disapprove advertising for seasonal golf course clubhouse help.
Is the clubhouse closing the 1st of October?
I believe so. Reason for the additional help, she stated that one of her key employees, took another job. I mean, you can't blame them, they're college
Two of
students.
her key employees left for
Yeah.
college, is what
Yeah.
it come down to. She had the majority of her employees, the two that were doing the majority of the work, were college students, and so she needed to better prepare for school starting.
And so, yeah, just to help finish out the year, there's still one large tournament, couple big weddings, different things.
Well, how's this gonna work? We advertise for how long, and then the next council meeting is 2 weeks away, and then it's the end of the season, the tournaments have already happened.
Seems like this happens every year.
Yep.
I don't see how the manager did not foresee this happening. I would like to suggest that if they're so confident in the volunteers they have out there, that they ask the volunteers for additional service at this time.
Well, I would say the manager should be picking up slack anyway. That's part of a manager's job.
I just don't see how it's feasible to bring anybody on this late. in the
Not for
season.
2 weeks.
No.
Get them trained, you want
Yeah,
disapprove.
I'd say probably disapprove. We
So if we
just make a
say-
motion,
No motion.
or no motion, yeah,
For
so
lack
we
of
can
motion.
continue on, so. Alright, 16, discuss, approve, disapprove policy to address pay periods that fall between council meetings that do not comply with the verbiage in the employee handbook, which states the following: all full-time and part-time employees are paid on every other Tuesday at 1 p.m. at City Hall for a total of 26 pay periods per year. City work weeks run from midnight Friday till midnight of the next Friday. The pay period for a Tuesday payday is the 2 previous work weeks.
Okay. Your ordinance takes precedence over your handbook. Your handbook is old.
Right.
And the ordinance was changed to be in compliance with our auditors in the state because it has to be, they have to be approved at a meeting before you can pay them. And when you did the Tuesdays, the other Tuesday, they weren't. So what you just have to do is if there's one in between, you have to get it approved at the meeting before. And not worry about your handbook so much right now until you rewrite it.
Now, if this ordinance was passed, why wasn't it updated in the handbook?
The
Because
handbook hasn't been
handbook's
touched
out of
since
date.
2017.
I understand, but I'm just asking like why it wasn't. If it was an ordinance, if it was just so important to make it an ordinance, then why wasn't it trickled out into the paperwork
Because
for the
ordinance,
employees that you're hiring?
ordinance takes precedence over everything, so you don't have to update everything. If you, it's gonna take a long time to rewrite that handbook, to get it up to code with everything, cause it's very old. And as long as you have an ordinance in place, that's what counts. Even if you change your handbook and the wording wasn't exactly right, the ordinance is gonna take precedence.
Then why wouldn't you just cite the ordinance in the handbook? Like, I don't understand.
Still not-
I don't get it.
Because the handbook hasn't been updated.
The handbook's been discussed many times by different councils,
Okay.
and it's gonna take probably a committee of employees, councilmen, sit down and redo the handbook. It is woefully beyond.
So you're saying as
So, hang on.
employees, as employees, there's nothing we can do at this moment right now, so like.
The
So-
ordinance controls right now.
What does that mean? So that means I won't get a paycheck until the next council meeting?
No,
No,
you're
it's
gonna
still
get your
approved as
paycheck
council
on your
meeting.
regular days. The only thing the council has to do is
What's my
approve it
regular
in
day though?
advance.
Now I'm confused, cause I read the handbook, but it
So-
doesn't mean anything, so.
Don't-
Right, so the problem at hand is we have physically provided that handbook to new employees, and I was one of those. And when we're given something and it's written that way,
It is still your handbook.
right,
There's never been one that's replaced it.
right.
Okay, it is your handbook.
So as an employer, when I hand it to an
You just told me
employee,
it was rubbish. You told me I could buy my ass.
No,
and then-
I said it was out of date, I didn't say it wasn't valid. It needs updated, I'm gonna tell you that.
That's,
My suggestion is that any changes, first of all, it's gonna have to be 30 days before they make a change, if they make a change. Secondarily, it should take place no sooner than October 1st, which would be the start of your fiscal year, which I would suggest that we finish out the year with the way we're doing it.
okay.
That'd be my legal opinion at this point in time. There are ways to do what you said, pay forward. Shadman just went through this process.
Well, we went through it, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And we
It's
clearly
clearly
reached
updated.
out
Because
to-
Yeah.
either the way it's set up now, they have to have specials to approve or pre-approve. That's up to the council, I can't speak to that. Because claims have to be approved by the council.
Well, but even then, we never officially made it that way. We clarified what they did as bi-monthly last winter. And we never made anything come to
But
a
we've
meeting
never-
that changed it.
But we've
to
never
every 2
changed
weeks.
it officially, what I want is clarity.
Right,
For
I
the
agree.
employees
I
and for
agree.
you.
Can I make a motion to assign individuals to update, or at least start updating the handbook from this?
Well, and if, in the ordinance as well, if you make a change, the
Right.
ordinance will control. The handbook's gotta follow the ordinance, but things have changed with the ordinance. The handbook hasn't followed.
I understand that, and I get that, if that had been made clear in, say, just a leaflet put into the package that we were, the only reason I have anything to say about this is I signed that paperwork under the impression that this was how we were gonna be governed, and these were the rules we needed to follow. And now I'm being told that, well, some of these rules aren't really rules, because there's other rules, but I was never given
I'll go
any
as far to
reference.
say, I thought this entire time we were still bi-weekly, because when I clarified it, when I ran the or bi-monthly, and when we made the clarification last winter, and through all this time assigning payroll, I thought we were still bi-monthly.
That's
It was
first
a
and 15th,
surprise to
or-
me
Yeah,
that it had
first
been
and
converted to every 2 weeks.
Okay, cause
So I will say that confusion, it's universal, and
Oh.
that's the problem, and so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not meant
especially
to
on our
be
end.
an issue, and I think it's something that we do need to
And-
settle immediately, but
Honestly,
it's.
from my standpoint, I have no idea what you get paid. I mean, it's not a legal question until we get to this point.
that's fine.
What I'm gonna tell you, that handbook is still valid unless an ordinance trumps it.
Okay.
And the ordinance was probably changed, I think the handbook was 2007, maybe, something like that. I don't
17
know.
was the last change
It's,
on it.
it's woefully, again, several councils, quite a few have discussed going through it, but then it stalls. I think it needs to be updated. I've offered other cities, counties that I do these things to give you copies of those things. Certainly, I would put a committee together involving the council and employees, the clerk, to sit down and not have a public meeting about it, have a good discussion about what needs updated, what the laws need. The other thing that would trump is if the federal law changes, and it's in our, federal law is always gonna make it.
Absolutely.
So,
Can I make a motion to start that committee then?
sure.
To approve, so I'd like to, I'll go ahead and volunteer, I'd like to make a motion to, approve a committee involving me, Julia, Dan, to start working on this handbook and bring it up to date so that we can come to agreement. So at this time, I guess we table this chunk of it.
And
But
then-
I would like to make a motion that we form a committee
And
and start
then we
working on the
include
handbook.
employee involvement with that.
Sure, if you have a recommendation, I'd take that.
Do you have a
I
question?
would volunteer as tribute as well. I have experience writing technical documents and editing and all that kind of stuff, so.
Okay, so at this time, let's have 4 on the committee
Second.
to rewrite the handbook.
Adam, you got something?
Is that fair?
That's fine.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gabby.
Yes. I like you, Gabby.
Alright, number 17, retroactively approved request to close Second Street from Main Street to Elm Street from 11 AM on August 24th, 2024 until 2 AM on August 25th, 2024 for the 3rd annual Tribesman Motorcycle Club Shriners Transportation Fundraiser.
You can't retroactive.
It's just so the minutes
It just shows
reflect that
it
it was
because
okay that they
it
did what they
happened,
did.
the meeting got canceled.
Quite honestly, you never approved your parade either. So we need the minutes to reflect that it was okay. When I talked to Mandy, go for it.
It's not gonna open a can of worms with the liquor commission that we didn't have.
I don't think we have a choice, unless they go to an administrative approval of SDLs, which they could do if they want to, but so many things going on that's pretty small to discuss. Liquor license is over.
I'll make a motion to approve the request, for the previous event from this last weekend.
This is actually just for the street anyway.
Right.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Grant,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
Dean,
Alright, 18, retroactively approved SDLs from 11 AM August 24th, 2024 to 2 AM on August 25th, 2024 for Tailgate Bar and Grill, Diamond Jack's Corner Bar, and Frontier.
I'll make a motion to approve with the adjusted requirements that we approved at that time. We approved SDLs from 11 AM to 1 AM on the 25th, not 2, for the Tailgate Bar Grill, Diamond's Jack Bar, Corner Bar, and the Frontier Bar, please.
Grant?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Dean?
Yeah. Alright. So we'll discuss, approve, disapprove. SDL at the community building for the tailgate bar and grill for the Tigas Benavides wedding from 12 p.m. on September 14th, 2024 to September 15th, 2024 at 1 a.m.
We'll make a motion to approve the SDL at the community building for the tailgate bar and grill for the Tigas Benavides wedding from 12 p.m. September 14th, 2024 to September 15th, 2024, 1 a.m. please.
Grant?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Number 20, discuss, approve, disapprove SDL at the community building for the tailgate bar and grill for the Lemon Julin wedding from 12 p.m. on September 28th, 2024 to 1 a.m. on September 29th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the SDL at the community building for the tailgate bar grill for Lemon Julin wedding from 12 p.m. September 28th, 2024 to 1 a.m. on September 29th, 2024 please.
Grant? Grant?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
21, discuss, approve, disapprove SDL for the bean broker for Hinman City wedding from 10 a.m. on September 21st, 2024 to 1 a.m. on September 22nd, 2024, being held in a large tent at the Old West Trail Rodeo grounds.
I'll make a motion to approve SDL for bean broker for Hinman City wedding from 10 a.m. on September 21st, 2024 to 1 a.m. on September 22nd, 2024, being held in a large tent in the Old West Trail Rodeo grounds, please.
Hold off on roll call.
I don't necessarily need to say anything, I just thought if anyone had a question, I've never been to the Crawford City Council.
She's ready.
So I just thought I'd come up and say hi. I'm sure you have plenty of weddings out there, so it's probably a easy going something, but.
I don't know when the last time one out there was, but they used to have a lot, so. Yeah.
I put my map just on the other side because
Yeah,
it
I
gets
see.
Did you get the second? Okay, so you gave your second.
Yeah, Grant?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright. Number 22, discuss, approve, disapprove Peabody Hill Park irrigation installation. Labor and equipment would be donated and materials are estimated in the amount of $2,841.80.
Right.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking, underground or?
Yes, it's just a continuation of the underground watering system that's currently there. We're just going to continue it on. We had a map and it shows where we ripped out all the cedar trees where it's all bare dirt. It's to put in a whole sprinkler system through that, but they're the key sprinkler heads where we can put them in and take them out.
I think that's fantastic.
Tony, does this include that triangle?
Can you pull up that drawing?
Yes, I can.
Here.
Yes.
It should be right on
In
the edge of
addition
it
to
on
a
the other
sprinkler
side.
system, could they also consider walking path for the seniors? We used to live across from them and they would walk over there and, you know, like they said, it was bumpy and rough terrain and they're always worried about them falling. And it would be nice if they.
That's the area right there that I pulled up on that.
It's not within the triangle, it's just on the other side of the city.
It's just loading.
Yeah.
And mostly because we got that strip all tore up right now. And we need to get it seeded back in for the weeds to take control. So if we've got an irrigation system, we plant seed, we water, and it pretty much takes care of itself. I mean, more work, but,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
that's the reasoning behind proposing it now.
Or do we have anything existing that they're tying it into then?
Yes.
Yeah. we'll be tying it into that
Comes up
current
to the park.
part of the park that goes by the
Yeah,
playground.
just west of the pool.
Equipment, yeah.
It's got an independent backflow and 2 lines right now. Proposed just tying onto them.
I'll second.
Dean?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Debbie?
I'll approve.
Thank you for finding those donations and the willingness of the free labor.
Not the same.
Alright, 23, discuss issues with golf course and balloon building for the agenda request of Doug and Sue.
Those are actually supposed to be two different things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the balloon building is separate, but.
I guess on the golf course issue, it was brought to my attention that during the, agenda for the budget, that there was an extreme amount asked for the golf course, it was denied. But let's play a hypothetical game. If the golf course would have had $200,000 and some worth of damage, and they didn't have the money to fix it, and the golf course would have been shut down, how would the adults have felt? Now, mirror that onto our children. That's how they felt all summer.
With the pool.
With the pool, I mean, it was denied to them to have a fun summer, to have a way to entertain themselves. Parents didn't have anywhere for these kids to go, to have a safe place. I talked to Buffy, and she said there were several times that that was the only place these kids had to go in the summer. Their parents were working. And so, on the flip side of this, I really wish this community would pull up, draw together, and start thinking about our youth. That golf course can either support itself, be turned back to the state, or leased out. We have so many concerns in our city with the streets, the water, the kids. We don't need a golf course if it means the city goes under. So I just ask that people think about that.
There's a lot of people who don't realize that the city does not own the land. They think the city owns the land where the golf course is at. And a lot of people around town don't realize that. And they're totally shocked when they find out the city doesn't own it, but we throw money at it. So that's just our concern.
And there was a presentation given when I was on the golf board by a golf board member. He gathered data from several golf courses in the area, and every golf course lost money. So as business people in the community, why are we endorsing a losing proposition?
When if we turn it back to the game and parks, they'll run it and we'll still get tourism out of it. It's just,
And the local people, yeah, Connie tried, they didn't want it. But
Game and Parks doesn't want it back. They
but
don't
it
want
can
a
be
golf
rented
course.
out, something has to be done different.
Just
Yeah.
real quick, have you had an opportunity to look at next year's budget that we put together?
I haven't yet.
I would invite you to do so.
I will. I heard it was supposed to be similar to last year, which is
I would
great.
invite you to
Kudos
do
you
so.
guys.
has it been cut or?
Now, where's it
We're
at?
very close to having it completely done, so when it's available, I would invite you to look at it.
And I will. But I just wish our community would pull together for our kids.
Instead
The adults
of,
are old enough to support themselves.
you know,
You know, it's just ridiculous that our kids had to run the streets all summer with nothing to do.
Alright,
anyway, yeah.
Okay, there's your.
thank you.
Yeah.
Get up on our soapbox.
Alright, you guys had something on the, balloon building?
The Bloom Building, yeah, we would, be interested in buying that land there to put in a campground. It would be west of the fire department. Where the Bloom Building was, back over here.
But we would bring, income into the community, we were paying taxes. Right now, that land just sits.
That land's part of the lease,
I know.
so it's not ours to sell.
Well, I guess I don't know what
I
you're
didn't
talking
know
about.
that
Actually,
Actually, it's not you own this side of the road.
Yeah, we own the Bloom Building,
So we
Yeah.
land outside.
I thought they annexed out.
There have been proposals for a campground there before.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so.
Well, I wish you guys would seriously consider it. We've had 20 years of campground experience. We know how to run one, we know how to lay one out, prepare it to get it going.
We're just starting at a business for
We
the
just,
city.
yeah, we just got another business going.
Everybody needs to understand, if they decided to sell it, it would be an auction.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, and we're.
That'd be fantastic.
Interest in that land because it's
Yeah.
very
There has to
attractive.
be. Well, if it's option to sell, it's something we can consider for the future, but.
Yeah.
Well, can you put it on the upcoming agenda or how?
We have a lot of very important impending issues at this time, but as soon as we have time to free up to really consider what the city would like to sell and not sell, we
Can I-
would gladly consider.
Can I say something?
I think they're gonna circle back, sorry.
No, that's right.
I think they're gonna circle back to a lot of the properties. And you've heard those discussions before as to what they need to keep, what they need to not keep. And I think that was actually tonight, when brought that up to me, let's talk about that again. So I think it's not out there too far.
So,
Just to kind of give you an idea of why I put my hat in the ring per se, is I have a vested interest in this community, 100%. I moved here from Omaha 4 years ago. I fell in love with this town the moment I came and saw it. Never been in this part of the country my entire life, never even heard of a view. And I lived in Omaha for 45 years. I think it's a hidden gem. I think this town has so much potential, it's just maddening.
yes.
I talk to locals that tell me how beautiful this town was 40 years ago, 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and if you haven't noticed, I'm the owner of Seas Drive-In, and we are trying to bring that back to its glory days from what I hear. We take pride in that, we take pride in this community. Property, our investments in this community, what this town owns, I've requested a list from the city a couple of weeks ago, I'm still waiting on that, but that's gonna be looked at thoroughly. Anything that's a debt loss that we've been just sitting on and costing us money, but we have the potential to use those funds for pools or community development, even the structural issues that we're having, that's something that is a priority to me. The bottom dollar right now, it's hard to look at you and tell you that I don't care about the kids, I do, but this town right now is in a very critical state for those kids' future. We need to start at the base, get this infrastructure situation worked out, and start building from there, from the ground up. So all these things will be looked at. I don't have the information at hand right now. I've requested some of that, what you're talking about. I can reassure you that's one of the main things I'll be focusing on. But if you'll have to give me some time to get caught up. You guys have been here in this community for decades.
Not a problem.
But if you have issues or concerns or questions, and I can help you in that sense, I will. But I'll be looking into that. I value Connie, just her experience. The people in this community that I've talked to come to trust, and we've made mistakes from what I understand, but we can recover from that. If we work together, as an outsider, I've seen a lot of interbickering, a lot of years of just rivalry between families and whatnots, and this happened, and I don't have any part of that. I am here for the betterment of this town. That's why I'm sitting here right now. I don't know I'm not taking any of that stuff into account as far as personal rivalries, but what we can do to move this community forward. That's why I'm here. So
We've lost so many businesses, we'd like to start a new one.
there's a lot of potential for new business
Yes.
in this town. There's a lot of property that needs to be redeveloped, and
But we need to tell
One more thing I think that they'll have to look at with regard to that piece of property, and Dan can correct me, but the infrastructure, I don't think there's any.
No.
Right.
There's infrastructure
There's none.
to the fire hall,
Right.
and the cost of that to get it sale ready might be something well, absolutely have to be something that they.
You wouldn't have to have it infrastructure to make it sale ready, you'd sell it as is.
but
We'd be responsible for.
there would be
For
some
improvements.
guarantees that
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If we do so, if, in my mind, the floor on it's gonna be pretty high if we have to put the infrastructure, just my guess. I don't know. I don't know where the taps are, that's his deal.
But anyway,
it's gonna take some
interest
time.
is that.
But you're interested.
Yes.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Alright, well, thank you very much. Alright, number 24. You guys are welcome to present, we're not gonna discuss, but you can present, your BNSF city street closure for the agenda.
Well, it puts a pinch on a lot of people for using the scale, including the sale barn. But there's a way to get around it. Pine Street on the east end, the road closure is on the north side. If that could be moved to the south side, we could get trucks in there to turn and go to the scale. Just simply moving it 50 feet. Can you guys help us do that?
And I'm kind of holding it up because there were some discussions with the previous administration with the railroad. We're not necessarily sure how that went.
Oh, yeah.
We need to take a step back. We need to have some dialogue with the railroad. There's been so many things going on, as well, everybody knows. But that's one of the high priorities, get with the railroad and see where they're at with all this.
Okay, so you're actively looking?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's legal issues that we could discuss, that I'm not gonna obviously discuss in
Yeah.
a public meeting. But we don't wanna start there, we wanna say, okay, railroad, what can we do to make this work? And see where they're at, cause I have no idea, cause there were meetings that I wasn't at with them, and I don't know the tenor of those meetings. And I would like to know where we're at with them.
Yeah, no, that's good, as long as we could do something.
Yeah, but absolutely, that's, to me, a very high priority.
Okay.
To keep things moving.
Appreciate that, cause if, like I said, if nothing else, just move that barricade just 50 feet. Give us, Pine Street access into it.
It should be a mutually beneficial agreement or arrangement
Yeah,
with the railroad. That's
some
what we'd like
bridges
to
were
have.
burnt and some fence mending needs to be done.
Yes.
And we're just starting that process, and,
They need to.
they were big bridges that were burnt.
Well, the
So
last-
we've got
the last
some
two
good
calls
fence
with
mending
them,
to do.
They were not amenable to any adjustment to the current setup, but I tried to set up a meeting with Mayor Norman and their, one of their staffers, I can't remember. His title's something akin to public relations. And so, but we'll revisit that meeting and see if we can make any
Okay.
progress.
As anybody knows, railroad's hard to find anything, who can make a decision on anything.
Right.
You get
Right.
phone numbers from here and here.
Well, I know it's not a big business, but it is a business.
No.
If wheat prices go up, it'll be opened up and used again, but,
It needs to be addressed
yeah.
whenever possible we can. There might be some decisions down the road as far as we wanna go legally, but I don't really wanna go there till we know we've exhausted.
Okay, well, as long as I know you guys are working on it, try to help us out, so we appreciate it, thank you.
Alright. Number 25, we are gonna table
Yes,
this time.
Just no action.
Or take no
no
action.
action.
Number 26, discuss, approve, disapprove. No, that's part of 25.
We
Or do you
we
wanna
can
do
discuss
that?
location and hopefully
Okay,
come to an
26,
agreement on
discuss,
that.
approve, disapprove location.
25 is no action.
Correct, 26.
Okay, no 26, okay.
Discuss, approve, disapprove location for bulk water truck fill station.
Correct. So currently, we're in violation on our bulk filling. We've got to have a formal station with an air gap to get into state compliance. So we're working forward, trying to get some designs together and a plan together. Have proposed a location. The location I proposed is mainly based on cost effectiveness and location to the water main. So out on Highway 20, right in between 5th and 6th Street, if you come off Highway 20, turn onto 5th, you come in on 6th, you turn onto 5th, and that road loops back up the hill and into town. Right there is where our main service line comes into town from the plant. We have 2 hydrants right there. Proposing a location right on that stretch of road in between 5th and 6th, right along the right of way. But it does pose a problem for residential, and then trucks would have to loop into town, that first block into town, then come back out on 5th or go another way. So throwing it out to discussion for some better ideas. I considered putting it right in the right of way in between 5th and 6th. We have that stretch of property that's outside of the state right of way in between the hydrants. But then we'd have to construct a road in between the two so they could pull into the visitor center. Then I have access issues because it would just be a service road just for the bulk, and we don't want regular traffic in there. And then the construction of the road. So I'm trying to minimize the cost impact but still get a a location that's functional for the community. So,
That elbow there, that's the one causes a lot of concern when it gets wet, where you deep up and whatnot, it's not rocked properly, correct?
it hasn't got wet this year too bad. We regraded it and got the big puddles out of the way, but
Doesn't
yeah.
get plowed from what I
It's
understand
like
from local
failing
residents.
asphalt down to the corner and then it turns to dirt and goes up
I
the
know
hill.
one of the local residents has complained numerous times about that not getting plowed during the winter as well. It's been taken off basically the route. So is
Okay.
that something that would be able to be upkept, or is it?
It should be upkept, yes.
So, so Dan mentioned where it's marked, the proposed truck fill station. Of course, my concern that I brought up to him was that if we have to deal with the current roads that we have, only the current roads that we have now, that potentially puts trucks on, our residential streets. And so
Yes.
I was trying to brainstorm with him how we can avoid that, because
So-
I don't think at any time we ever want semis on our residential streets.
Yeah, if you
So
could.
if it's something that we could potentially consider coming in at the intersection just between the empty lot and the hotel and creating, a small road there and our easement straight across to the other, where they can come in on the highway and then come back out on the highway. Oh, sorry, yeah, let me do that. Use the easement that we have here, but come in the highway, form a small road here, so then they can also come out the highway, and therefore keeping them off of our residential roads. And if we have to do that, we would obviously have to build that up to overtake the trucks.
Right, and that
are
would
gonna
be the
on
new
that
roadway
line.
and we-
And that's gonna affect this also too,
Yeah.
it's gonna have to be built up to a certain degree.
And then
But-
we'd have to decide on use of that road and probably put an
Right.
ordinance in place and stuff
Correct.
like that,
To
so
make sure
that's
that-
something to discuss.
But it is nice in the sense that we would be able to keep potential trucks off
Yeah.
of these other streets that might be impacted if we have to stay over here. It would be cheaper to come up with this than to try and move the facilities to this corner.
I
where
mean,
they
that
can
would be the
easily
ideal
access it already.
location, but the cost to go either through the road or under the road, put
Right.
the fill station in that triangle where the visitor center is, I think the cost impact would just be too high, and I'm trying to avoid
What
that.
about over by the fire hall?
Well,
community building?
that's been discussed, and I don't in any way wanna impede on any kind of emergency operations.
Right.
So like right now, Warner's filling up full-size semis. If we had them in their parking lot and God forbid they needed water or needed something, I don't wanna impede with that operation at all. You know, emergency's like number one, so I'd rather keep it away from there.
Can it not be done at the plant?
It cannot be done at the plant because the only water source we have to service them is raw water, and it's only fed by the pressure of the elevation in the tank. So at the hydrant, we only have 10 PSI, so it isn't functional.
Roy?
Seems to me at one time, on the old highway there was a fill, already a fill there on the north side of the old highway.
Out north.
It's still there.
So-
No, right up here,
So you're talking almost in
Right
here,
up.
Roy, right?
not that far.
That's artesian well.
Yeah, back this way.
Oh, that
I did
old
see an
arm
old
that used
stub
to hang
down
out
there.
there?
Yes.
Yeah, there was an old arm in the
No,
bank.
no, it was
like,
on up.
over there.
Yeah, just
An
on
old
the
arm in
picture, just
bank,
on the
yeah.
picture. There was
Yeah.
an old fill there years ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't that an artesian well?
I don't know what it was, but it was a water fill.
City water.
I'm
was?
Good to know.
absolutely willing to look into that because that's something I didn't know about. I knew there was an old pipe stub and the guys like Tim and stuff said that's something we haven't, it's abandoned. I don't know about it. And none of our water drawings show it.
Yeah, for the last 83 years.
And a truck, that's a truck in and out without any kind of a road.
Yeah, that would be the perfect location. I'm just trying to, if we had to bring a line over, the cost
Well,
impact.
there was a
would be
fill
pretty-
there, where that line's at, I
Okay.
don't know, but there's a fire hydrant up above by Sean's. Wouldn't be hard to hook to.
Okay,
I know
thank you.
where you guys are pointing originally, there's a bunch of concrete culverts in that grass section.
Mhm.
I don't know how you would put a road in to get around it without having to do major.
Oh, in
excavation
between,
or all
you're
that.
talking through the right of way?
Yeah. Right where that little,
Yeah.
where your arrow is, go to the left, go to the
Right.
left, right in there. There's culverts right in there that go where the highway goes under.
Oh, and comes out and ejects onto that.
Yeah, cause we always
We're
had to
draining
go
from the
around
south
when we
side.
mowed in there
Gotcha.
and, yeah.
See, these are all
It's
great
disaster.
things.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Bringing information in to make a decision, so that's something I'll see where they are, because then we just have to continue those culverts if we're gonna do that. Well, can we bring this back to the next meeting after some
Yeah.
investigation?
Sure.
Okay,
Please.
Yeah.
thank you.
Sounds good. 27, discuss, approve, disapprove purchase of 3 Bray pneumatic air actuators and associated parts per quote from Intermountain Controls for the water plant in the amount of $2,500. Freight is not included in the price, proposed
Correct,
price.
correct. And can't really project on the freight. I'm sure it'd be under $500 based on what we've been seeing with parts come in. But these are additional failing, they're air control valves for our butterfly valves, and they're failing in the plant. We're just at a point in the plant where we gotta just replace and moving on.
I'll second.
Yes.
Mark? Yes.
Yes.
28, discuss, approve, disapprove the purchase of 3 6-inch class 125 silent check valves and associated parts from Jim Jolly Sales Inc. for the water plant in the amount of $5,931 to replace failing check valves on the main service pumps that are already on order.
Yes.
Freight's not included in this one either.
We-
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Discuss, approve, disapprove the purchase. Oh, yes.
Okay, with these completions of these acquisitions, how far are we to 100% then?
A couple weeks and a few more.
No. She's asking 100% at the plant.
100%.
I'll be totally honest, we're just start digging in. The first things that I identified when I started were like 911, we need to address this now. Now that we've got into there and Edward's been into there and he's been digging in, we're starting to do more service and things that were ever done. How we found these check valves is we got down into the clear water well, because when the filter failed 2 years ago, it dumped all the media into that well that we're pumping into the tanks. What we found out is we didn't realize it was all in there. Those pumps had been pumping, that's one of the reasons for our failure. But then they're going through the check valves, and the check valve is just like a flapper valve. The water goes through it, when the water stops, it shuts. Well, the media and the amount of years that it's been in service, those valves are failed. So we're continually finding things. The things that are on the list today, only 2 of these things we'd identified 3 weeks ago. These are all new findings with everything we got into with our emergency and trying to do the workaround, and Edward continually digging into things in plant. So I'll be totally honest, I think we're 15 to 20% to 100%.
I'd say make a list and start buying what you need.
We are.
We are currently in active.
And we have lists.
And this is the very first.
We have lists behind this list, in which I've already kind of brought people aware of, and I've pretty much put my foot down and said, at this point, we're just gonna start at one end, go to the other end, and we're starting replacement.
Yes.
So that's where we're at.
Do her. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Thank Edward and Dennis too. They're playing a big role.
We're trying.
Motion on the table, or?
No, we're in between. We just announced, or we just did 28, so 29, so.
So, 29, discuss, approve, disapprove the purchase of 2 controllers and turbidity meters from Hawk to replace 1 failing meter and update the meter currently in place in the amount of $2,520.
I would like to
Rate's
add,
not included either.
I'd like to add to that with that, we're purchasing a service plan, which has been real beneficial to the one you guys approved last year. They've came in, and these meters require chemicals and calibration. They've come in and done that for us. That continues on with these. There's also going to be 2 more meters that are coming that need to be replaced, because the ones we have aren't dated. We can't even get parts for them anymore, but they're still functioning and they're operating. So we're just putting priorities first.
Are those service plans included in this price?
Yeah.
Yes, the service plans are included in that price. We also have a 20% discount. It's only active until the end of this week. So if we can't get this order, that price automatically goes up 20%.
And then how many years is this?
We should get.
service plan? Is there like
The service plan is
We renew it every year, so
Um,
this gets them installed, gets the first year of service, and then we renegotiate next year on our
Now,
needs.
the service plan is super competitive. We looked into the testing equipment we would need, the replacement parts that we would need, the chemicals we would need to do this all ourselves. And the prices are completely comparable. These guys will come out 4 times a year.
And the time we have to do that
I
stuff.
completely agree, I just wanna know, or
Yes.
have it be noted that this is gonna be an ongoing fee that needs to be budgeted, or we need to be aware of.
No, as a team, everything we can think of has been coming to light, and everybody's on board, so I'm real comfortable with the direction that we're trying to resolve some of these issues.
I'll second it.
Chris made a motion.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Jean? Yes. Grant?
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
31, discuss approve, oh, sorry, I skipped. 30, discuss approve, disapprove the purchase of a new Hustler Super mower from Powerhouse at a cost of $27,307 for a Super Z72 at a cost of $13,362. Freight's not included in that one either.
Is this parks or golf course or?
This is parks.
I know the park board has discussed this, and I've discussed it with Dan more than one time. Park board just can't, we can't agree on purchasing the big mower, $27,000. We think that's ridiculous. You know, the Super Z72 is our recommendation. And then at the beginning of next year, next budget, buy another Super Z72.
So, give me justification for that.
Okay, multiple, okay, the size of the unit, okay. You can't get in around a lot of spaces, headstones, cemetery, and there's a lot of places you just can't get a 104-inch deck in. Next one, 104-inch deck, you have to have super level turf, level ground. If you have any hills, any voids, now you're digging, you're damaging the mower. The expense, you know, we looked at it, the current mowers that we have, we could buy 3 of them at the price of that one mower. We could replace our entire fleet for the price of the one mower. Okay, we compromised and agreed that we'll go up one size bigger to the 72. That way the operators can cover more ground in less time. It can still be trailerable with fairly ease, which the 104, again, trying to get it on a trailer, it's a big monster. Even with the hydraulic wings that come up, you know, I don't think on the city's best budget, okay, I can't agree to buy that $27,000.
What's the size of the deck on the Z72?
72.
Okay, so that's the same.
What are the decks you have
So-
right now?
60s.
60s.
How many?
We have 3
So-
Hustlers, 60s. right
We have
now.
3 Hustlers and one Kubota that's a 52-inch, so we currently run 4 mowers. We run 4 people in the park we run 3 seasonals, well, 2 seasonals and our lead and our park laborer.
So in addition to a lot of tight places, we also have a lot of open places. So
We
it's
do.
not replacing
So-
these smaller ones, it would
so-
just be in addition to.
Yeah, I'm not putting this request out without doing a bunch of research on it. So our current mowers are 60-inch decks. Now, I did calculations just on 10 passes in the park, just on 10 passes. So we do 10 passes, we're mowing about 600 feet. Super 103 with a 104 deck, 10 passes, we're mowing 1,040 feet. An additional 37 passes. Per 10 passes, this will be up to 10 hours per week that we save in time. One of the biggest problems that I've seen in this town is to keep everything in the condition everybody wants. We don't have the time or the labor to do all the tree pruning, all the spraying, the building maintenance, and everything together. So I'm thinking the bigger mower is gonna, I mean, just by the math and the paperwork, produces up to 16 hours a week with 72s in place. I propose the purchase of a 104 this year, 72 next year, a 72 the following year, and we only operate 3 mowers instead of 4. That also alleviates a whole park position in the summer, which is a lot of money relieved. So a whole seasonal position would be eliminated. The guys would still be able to keep everything mowed and have some extra time in the week to do that. We've gone out to the cemetery and actually measured every single row, and we only identified, what, Kevin, 3 rows that it wouldn't fit down?
There's only 3. We do have that south field that takes a lot of passes on the 60s, even with the brush hog. Takes a half day on that. And it does go on uneven terrain. If you look at the highway mowers, they got the wings and they're actually actuated to handle that terrain and everything. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be taking it on the hill or at the visitor center, going up and down. You know, you take the little guys on that now. So you would have to use a little common sense on running that thing. But as far as time, if we cut a day out of mowing, where we got a day of working on irrigation at the ball fields, trimming trees, even a day and a half, I think we figured out be a day and a half, where we get the crew working on something different. Instead of just concentrating on mowing, because right now, that's what we're doing, even with the dryness that we had last year, it's just insane. Just trying to keep up with the mowing and everything. So as far as time goes and labor goes, it would be huge. We do have older mowers and everything. The 17s would be wonderful, but as far as the 104 goes, a guy can knock out the ball fields, fire station, community building, Peabody, in a day, and be one guy doing that.
Will it fit through the heats?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ball fields and
Yep,
everything?
yep. So when it folds up, it turns into a 72. When you drop down the wings, it turns into the 104, because they're 18-inch wings, right?
Yeah, and then the wings float, so as you hit grade differentials, one wing will drop, the other one will raise, so the sculpting isn't too big of an issue based on all the research we done. But I'm trying to alleviate time and dollars in the town. I feel over a year and a half, the mower, the additional cost of the mower would be paid for in the elimination of the additional park person and just the quality and things that are getting done in the park.
Susan, you had a question?
Yeah, Dan said we're only at 15% of the repairs that we need for the water system. I think that we should nix this, see if Bongar's will give us a deal on 4 60-footers, or maybe we can have a 72 and get a cheaper price. That seems a little bit out of the ballpark.
Okay, Roy?
I think the big mower is a hell of a good idea. As long as you got somebody that won't tear the wings up when they're getting around the trees, you have to have your 60 inchers to do your small sections. But that big mower is gonna be a lifesaver and a time saver and a money saver in the long run. You kinda gotta look ahead.
You're gonna use the big one where it's ideal.
Where it's
So
acceptable.
if you're taking so much
Yes.
time to back up, turn around,
No.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
And in the
Nobody's
tight
planning.
spots, those wings, I don't care if they're up or not, you're gonna hit something with those wings.
You are.
You gotta be smart when you're using those wings. But a 60 inch is perfect for down in the park area with all the trees and all that. You cover a lot of ground with a 60 inch.
The smaller mowers would become trim mowers, is essentially what they'd do, and they'd be mowing all the other spaces that this doesn't fit.
I would keep the big ones out of any place where it's even starts to get tight.
Yeah. I've also spent a lot of time with the park team that's currently working down there and made it very clear that a purchase of this type of equipment, use and abuse is not gonna be accepted. There'll be one accountable person for it, that would be the park lead. Kevin's quite aware of that. And so that's the only way I can guarantee it not being used and abused. It's gotta be 2 operators, the main operator being the park lead, the other one our full-time employee under the supervision of the lead. Cause I'm pretty uptight about the purchase
That is
too.
a lot of money, but watching as much as there is to mow with a 60 inch deck, you're gonna wear 4 mowers out in 3 years easily. So your money ahead, one pass with a big mower versus, yeah, you're knocking your brains out on those small machines trying to mow big areas.
Is it gas or diesel?
I got a
It's
question.
gas,
Gas?
yeah.
I know this is a sale price. What is the normal price of this?
40,000,
40,000.
yeah.
So it's a.
And they gave me a quote of 27, 27,307.
30% off.
Yeah.
So.
37,537 is
It's
list
a lot
price.
cheaper than what we were considering during budget, so.
And why are they considering selling it at this price?
Because potentially our Alliance distributor is going out of business and they're aware of that. They're gonna not be selling mowers anymore.
What brand is this?
Hustler.
Good brand.
Where would you get parts then?
Yeah, Brown.
From them.
22, anywhere.
South Dakota.
So,
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the purchase of the new Hustler Super Mower with the powerhouse at the cost of $27,307, please.
the Hustler.
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
And just one more thing, I know it's approved, but financials for the purchase of this mower are coming out of this year's budget, out of capital outlay that was already set aside for the park. There's $45,000 in the capital outlay, and we're allowed to use that for maintenance and upkeep of our assets. So the purchase of tractors, equipment, stuff like that is in that. So it's only impacting the park budget in this fiscal year.
I got one question. Now, that $40-some thousand, I just want to make this clear so it's out in the open. When that building was sold over there by the dentist office, there was 30,000 something. That's not to buy mowers.
32.
That's not to buy mowers and stuff.
Right,
That is
that's
separate
not
for
this
buildings.
Yeah, this is
That's not
this is
what
totally
it's
separate.
Later it'll mention
Yeah,
too.
we'll talk about
Clear
this
it for me,
then.
thanks.
So, alright. 33, discuss, approve, no, sorry, 31. 31, discuss, approve, disapprove proposal from Charlie's Garage Repairs for the city bus air conditioning system in the amount of $1,106.14.
I'll second.
Dean, Grant,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
32, discuss, approve, disapprove purchase of FX20B hydrovac trailer from Ditch Witch in the amount of $39,900. It's needed to facilitate and complete a lead report due in October 2024 to maintain compliance with state requirements. This equipment is needed to excavate meter pits and water lines to identify pipe type for reporting reasons. Do I have?
So this is a big purchase, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous about this purchase also. But with the requirements we have from the state and upcoming reports that need to be done, I have done everything I can do to find rentals or find a solution to be able to excavate every meter pit that's filled with gopher dirt to the top. Me and Edward had sat at one for what, an hour one day? And we just,
We got maybe about 2.5 feet into it.
we just got below the mower, the meter in the pit. We've got to get to the bottom of every pit, identify the line in, the line out for the lead reports.
And
So
everything we can't put physical eyes on is gonna have to be marked per the EPA standards as unknown. Everything that's unknown will eventually have to be dug up, whether it's dug up with an excavator,
Yeah.
or it's dug up by hand, or
So-
it's
and-
dug up
and-
with a rental.
I'll be totally honest, once we dug into prior records and how they address this, they didn't. There's been falsification of records and reports, and that's just not gonna happen on my watch.
It's my understanding that with this fancy little ditch witch that we're considering, this could come in really handy in the future if we have to dig in any areas where we might come across fiber optics or anything else, because
So,
it's very gentle as far as being able to go around things without cutting into things. if
just
we
so
need
we're
to.
clear, it's a pressure washer with high pressure jets that cut the soil with a large shop vac attached to it, industrial shop vac. So as you spray out the ground, you just vacuum it up and you can just excavate right down. So multiple uses. One is getting through this report. Two is identifying utilities and locates in the future, and small repairs. We had a repair, 2 weeks ago, right as that emergency
We
happened
dug up our whole
at
driveway.
your house.
Yeah, I apologize about that. We got
That
it fixed.
ended up being a little pinhole hole in the line
And we dug a massive hole in her driveway.
with the backhoe, and we could have excavated right down to it, identified that it was just a pinhole, widened that hole and did the repair in a quarter of the time. But not only that, in the park, when we have irrigation leaks, we've dug up some pretty messy things that could be used there for that. And then we're also reaching out to Harrison, who's got a jetting machine. With their jetting machine and our hydrovac machine, a partnership could be used, because we run into a lot of situations where we need a jetter. So we're trying to coordinate community use with that between us. And it wouldn't be just here, take the machine, the crew would go, their crew would come. And I've also sat down with Dennis and Edward too, and accountability and upkeep and everything of this machine is super high priority, and they're quite clear how I feel about that. Dennis would assume full responsibility. It would be stored at the bay in the wastewater plant. And
Thank you, Dan. It looks like you've got a clear vision of what we'd like to move to the future to make sure
What
that
about a
we're
back truck?
moving along.
so
Pothole machine, same thing.
this is
It's
the same
just
thing, a
used
truck.
for
So I looked into multiple contractors, and I looked into rental of this equipment. I found one trailer that we could rent, and it was on the other side of the Bighorns in Wyoming.
No, I meant a truck, a used one, not new, because I know they're.
So I did look at some used stuff. Trucks are just unquestionably out of our price range, even used. And I did look at some used trailers, and not knowing the use and prior life of that trailer and the cost that they're still running, the trailers I looked at are still pushing $25,000–$30,000 used.
So this is cheaper than a used truck?
I found
A
it
used
used.
truck would be very handy.
I
It
did
would.
some research on this, I found some used ones, and one was priced at 36,000, same model, and like you said, you don't know if they're used and abused, and
Right.
it's actually more than
So-
the new one, so.
so
it's a
again,
fair
with the-
price As far as what I've been able to research.
How many gallons is this?
150.
Oh, so it'll suck up 150 gallons?
Right. The other thing we can
I'd
use.
like to make a
Yeah,
motion
we're
to
gonna
approve
move on with
the
the
purchase of FX 20B hydrovac trailer from Ditch Witch in the amount of $39,900.
Craig,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Alright, 33, discuss, approve, disapprove city credit card through Security First Bank and designate spending/credit. So, we did have a credit card, that was tied to the previous mayor. When he left, that credit card shut down, so we have to get a new one going. Do you guys have a spending limit you would like?
I
Do you
have a kind of a quick legal question. I guess I felt that it would be better probably suited if we had the card in the clerk's name since she's bonded. She brought up, when I asked her about this, she brought up the question, when it's in their name, does it tie to their credit, or because it's with the city, it shouldn't affect her?
Clerk, the clerk position.
So it's tied to the position, it shouldn't,
If the
it shouldn't
bank-
affect her personally.
It shouldn't affect her personally.
That should be tied to our tax
Should
ID
be the
number.
Should be tied to your
because
tax.
I was
Yeah.
on the, my concern is the mayor added me, the former mayor added me to the last credit card, but they took my social and different things, and I have concerns about that. I removed myself. I don't know if that card is canceled, but I removed
You're gonna
myself,
wanna use
but.
the city's ident number and tie it to the clerk position.
Yeah,
From
I
what-
think you
from
should be
what-
able to provide that number instead of your social security
From
number.
what I
That makes more
understand,
sense.
Security First Bank has the option to go with that. I don't know if that was used last time, but they have one specifically for businesses. It would have your name on it, but the town business controls it.
Okay.
You'd be a
That's what we had in the
user,
past.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve a city credit card, in the name of the clerk on behalf of the city of Crawford with the city's EIN, through Security First Bank and designate a $3,000 monthly spending limit.
So if it's designated to the city clerk, if Julie left her position, the next city clerk could use it.
What
It would have to be
We'd have
reset
to,
all over
we'd
again.
have to get a
The
new
bank would have you come in and change the.
It would still have to be reset.
Well, cause it's her name on the card still, it's.
I would
They
believe
would
that
reissue it, yeah.
from past experience, the business side of having secondary users, you can cancel or allow or deny anybody use on the card. So the bank should be allowed to just say, she's not allowed to use the card anymore, do you want any other
Yeah, and
secondary
it does
users?
go somewhere else.
And you should be able to maintain the account.
And they'd reissue that.
Yeah.
They'd reissue that.
Do I have
So
a
we've got a
second?
motion.
Second.
Grant,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Alright, 34, discuss, approve, disapprove the gun range staff's request to have berms constructed by the city at the pistol range. The gun range will provide up to $500 for fuel costs, but is asking the city to provide equipment and labor. Projected labor is 32 hours, 2 men for 2 days, for a cost of $800, and use of the backhoe and loader.
For clarification, Dan, the 800 is the payroll cost, not an additional fuel cost.
Correct, 800 is just the.
Just the man hours.
Yes, yes.
What about the rent of the backhoe and the
There is no
City
rent.
funds.
Our people
Is
are,
the city ground out there? Yeah.
yes.
it's part of it.
It's part of the lease with the,
Yeah.
the
They're,
state.
they're asking us to give them 2 operators in the equipment and move the dirt for them.
Right.
And they'll pay for the
I
fuel.
didn't realize it was city.
You can see if we use the Keno funds for this.
I didn't hear you.
Use the Keno funds to pay your help.
Okay.
It would qualify, I believe.
And you're aware of that ask, right, Scott?
Make a motion to approve this, using Keno funds.
I'll second.
Dee,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Debbie.
Alright, 35, discuss, approve, disapprove $150 clothing allowance for full-time field employees in the park, streets, water, wastewater, and golf departments. This allowance must be used for essential safety items such as boots or protective clothing. Employees issued this allowance must provide purchase receipt of above-mentioned items to City Hall for reimbursement up to $150.
I'll make a motion to approve. Thank you, Dan, for
I just
bringing
have
this.
This was
questions
approved
on
along.
clarity. Would this be on your first year anniversary and every year after as an employee? Or would this be from your first day starting and then every year after?
Starting October 1st and renewing every
This-
year,
this
regardless
October
of your start date.
Okay.
So-
I would
That was
say
all-
for,
was
I
just
would say
looking
for new employees, it's after your probation, but then you would qualify annually.
So I've written policy to inject into the handbook, which is on the screen right now if you want to read it. If we need to
Yes.
make that change to it, but this,
It's already been approved. It's been in use for years. But we approved it probably 5 years ago for 150.
Four or
Dennis,
five.
yeah, Dennis.
This is
was-
with this is
But-
the revised policy that the mayor and Dan have approved, and
They can't find it,
so,
they can't find it.
there's,
what, no, I've seen the policy, we dug for it. This is new, the mayor has reviewed, Dan has reviewed, this is new and approved and very, very clear.
it keeps pretty,
So it's a
pretty
modification.
tight control over that $150.
No, yeah, they get it every year because it's usually.
It's just modification.
Boots or something like
So,
that.
let's take a roll.
Grant,
But,
yes,
yeah, you shouldn't, I mean, you
Debbie.
can add it in when you redo your, personnel manual, but it's already in place to pay it every year, so you don't need to approve that.
For the middle.
We're also clarifying, making sure that it's used for the, proper,
The specifics.
yeah.
I mean, it was always
Proper
safety
P-
boots or
PPE.
that
Did
kind
you
of
get it
stuff.
every year with the state?
Oh, it's standard operating procedure.
Not every year.
Yes.
And
And
they must have changed that, Don got it the first time and then.
I got it every year at the state, I got it every year at school mine,
Yeah.
Alright, we're
Okay,
gonna
moving
move on.
on.
every year at the naming.
Number
Number
36.
36, discuss, approve, disapprove obligation of ARPA funds in the amount of $152,372.88. That's the balance as of July 31st, 2024's bank statement, and any interest earned through December 31st, 2024 for the infiltration overflow outlet relocation project. And should there be any remaining funds be obligated to the bulk watering station project.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Dean,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Debbie.
I'm gonna abstain on this one as I don't have enough information.
Alright. 37. Discuss, approve, disapprove moving funds that were moved into the streets funds and the park fund, $32,500 to each fund, from a certificate of deposit formerly held at Homestead Bank into a new certificate of deposit. So,
It's just a rollover, right?
We had to move banks, so in a technical way, it's just a separate location, so I mean, it's the intention for it to be a renewed similar basis,
At a
but
better
these would be
rate
the funds
too.
you're referring to.
I would recommend only moving, or only investing the parks fund right now till, cause I think we had already stated use on the streets of that money, so. till
That's already spent.
Yeah, till that's
This
clarified.
is
would
all
be-
that's available.
This would be for the park.
Now, is this for one of those like 7% CDs that you guys were talking about?
Yes, they do a 7-month, 5% last, I think.
No.
It would be moved to security first, correct?
Yeah, yeah, it would be in the
So
security.
it needs to be clarified, so I'll make a motion to approve moving the funds to Security First Bank, that were moved into the street funds and the park fund of $32,500, for just the park funds, I guess is what I need to approve, let me say that again. I'll make a motion to approve moving the park fund at $32,500 from a certificate of deposit formerly held at Homestead Bank into a new certificate at Security First Bank.
Grant?
Yes.
Dean? Yes. Ready?
Alright. 38, discuss approve, disapprove application renewal of plumbing permit for Wally Julian Plumbing.
I had a quick question, and this is maybe a legality thing for you, Adam. Do we have a minimum that they need to be bonded at? Because the applications have, their liability, property damage insurance coverage is drastically different. Should we recommend that, or is I hate to table it any longer?
Can I interject here?
Sure.
Ty's, his bonding is, all construction.
Yeah, he's.
And Wally is just the plumbing bond.
Okay.
So that is the.
Well, cause on his application, it says just 100,000, and that's, unless, yeah, it just says 100,000. Or, sorry, 1,000, I'm reading that wrong, 1,000. And so that had me concerned, cause at just 1,000, that's not a lot of damage to be covering.
And then if it's
But
the
Wally's
general
has quite
contractor.
a large amount to it, so
I'm surprised you can get one that low, most of them.
We-
really have two
well, that's
big.
what I thought, well, but the
So we got
bond says 2,000,
We got with Dan recently.
so I
And
just thought that was
designated an
really
amount,
weird
and
low.
you had a conversation with Wally regarding that bonding, correct?
I did not with Wally
You did not,
regarding the
right?
bonding.
Right.
You and I had a
Same,
conversation.
Wyatt, or Watson's is, it says 2,000.
I felt
on the
2,000
bond
wasn't
amount.
enough.
Transaction report.
I will point out, last year he wasn't with it.
Which one?
So, I wasn't sure.
Larger
So,
amount makes more sense,
Well, here, I guess here, when you look at his liability insurance, his, COI, it says, the limits, each occurrence is 300,000, damage to renting is 100,000. So this is more specifics as far as the bigger
well, what's the
commercial
plumbing-
general
the
liability
plumbing
that would
part
be
is
more
what-
comparable.
most of those are requiring $1 million, $2 million.
Well, I know
minimum.
our bonds have to, so that's why I was really,
Even snow removal.
but it didn't say that on his app, so I just wanted to make sure that.
Ty's attachment is $1 million for general.
Okay,
Right.
so as long as, okay, so I just didn't know with that not being on the application that way,
It's attached as part of.
then that's okay. Okay, I just wanted to verify that, so I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve the renewal of plumbing permit for Wally Jewin Plumbing, please.
Yes, they both.
You can do it.
I can do it both, I would go ahead and make a motion to approve the renewal of plumbing permits for both Wally Jewin Plumbing and Ty Watson Construction Company, please.
I'll second that.
Grant?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Alright, and we'll probably have to recess short.
Yes.
So we can look through the bills. You got a minute? Alright, we're on Zoom with the meeting.
Long overdue.
Hello,
No businesses around with no water though.
So, 8:19.
Okay. Zoom.
Alright, so I need a motion to approve bills and claims requisition orders and transfers contingent upon the mayor having them signed tomorrow.
So moved.
Second.
Dean?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Alright, do need a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Grant?
Yes.
Dean? Yes. Gabby?
Yes.
And Dean.
Bye-bye.
Julie, your ears were on point tonight, so thank you.